Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. This program is broadcast from Rajmakon, University of Technology, Pranikon, and it will be coming to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist and a song to you. We'll discuss a little bit about the artist, and we will discuss a little bit about the song, its main themes, what it's all about, and a little bit of its history. Then we'll go ahead and take a break, and in the second part of our program, after we listen to the song, we will analyze the lyrics. We will especially go over anything that's difficult to understand, any difficult vocabulary, slang, idioms, anything like that that might be hard to understand. All right, let's get to the show.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Gary Gray, and I am your host for Musical Musings. I'm an American English teacher here at Rajmakon, University of Technology, Pranikon, and I've been teaching here for about 8.5 years. So I've been here quite a while, and I've been teaching English most of that time. I do occasionally teach science as well. I have a science background back in America, so I sometimes teach science as well. But mostly I teach English here. And I do like to incorporate music into my programs. Why? Because sometimes that's better than when you're just going out of a textbook. The textbook is going to be good for teaching things like grammar, vocabulary, but people are learning a new language because they want to communicate with people. And so when you're communicating, just kind of normal communication, just talking with someone, you want to kind of know the slang, the idioms, things like that. Those are things that are not going to be taught most of the time in a textbook. And so using anything from pop culture, whether it's movies, television programs, music, anything like that, can be helpful for learning those things. And of course, in a classroom setting, we don't usually have time to watch a whole movie. I do that occasionally, but rarely. Rarely will we watch an actual movie in the classroom. TV programs, maybe that's a little more convenient, but I don't really do much of that either. Music is really the easiest form because a song is only going to be 3-4 minutes long. So you have these short bursts of information that you can get from a song. So I do like to use music in the classroom, and that's why I am hosting this program for you about music. All right, so for today's episode, we are going to be doing the song Don't You Want Me by the Human League. Now, I have to say this was a little bit confusing to me when I decided to do this song. Why? Why was it confusing? Because the last couple of weeks we have had some artists pass, and I do like to do kind of a tribute episode to those artists when they pass away. And so I had seen a report that one of the members of this band had passed away over this last week. And I don't believe we've done this band before. I try to not repeat artists, so I've done most of them by now. We are almost done with 3 full years of this program. So I've done most of the artists I can think of, but we haven't done them. And so with one of their members passing away, I decided we're going to do this episode in tribute to this band. The weird thing is, I then looked it up, and I don't know if it was fake news or someone trolling or what happened, but apparently nobody in this band has passed away. Nobody has died. So they are all still with us. Anyway, I decided we're not going to change. We're going to do this episode anyway. All right, so again, the band is called The Human League. Sometimes people will leave off the and just call it Human League. I believe their official name does include the, so it is The Human League. And they are a British band which formed in 1977. They are still active today, but only sort of. The reason I say sort of is something we have talked about in previous episodes. You know, some bands, they'll replace a member or two because someone decides to leave or they have a fight or whatever. So a band member or two gets replaced. What I don't like is when all of the original members are gone. Now, that doesn't mean that there's nobody there that's been with the band for a long time. I mean, for example, maybe somebody left in their first year or two and was replaced, and that new replacement has been there ever since, has been there the whole time. But when all of the original founders of a band are gone, is it really still that band? And that's the case with the Human League. The original founders, Martin Ware and Craig Marsh, are not with the band anymore. Neither is anyone else that was an original founder of the band. So, is it really still the same band? I would say it's not. So as far as I'm concerned, the Human League as a band does not exist anymore. But technically, they do. Technically, they are still around and still performing. And again, they were founded in 1977, so that would make it about almost 50 years now, about 48 years that they've been around. Again, whether or not you really want to say they're still around, I don't know, because it's not the same members. Anyway, that's the band, the Human League, been around since 1977, British band, and their genre is basically kind of synth pop. Synth is short for synthesizer. In other words, they have a lot of keyboard, a lot of synthesizer in their music. And pop is pop music. That's kind of like maybe Mariah Carey would be now, or Beyonce, or back in the 80s and 90s, maybe Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. Those type of performers are considered pop. You know, I often talk about genres on here, and I always say that I don't like talking about it because there's too much crossover. Many bands will do kind of multiple genres, so putting a group into a certain genre, I don't really like doing that because it's not really honest or fair. But I would say for this style of music, the synth pop music, a lot of these bands that did this, they really didn't move too far outside of their genre. So bands like the Human League, you probably can pretty much just put into that synth pop genre. It's probably okay to classify them as a certain genre. That is what they do. They don't stray too far from that. All right, so the song we're going to do from them is a song called Don't You Want Me. And it came out in 1982. It did hit number 1 on the Billboard charts, so that's quite good. That's not easy to do. We've talked about this before, like the 1970s and into the early 80s. Lots of good music around. Lots of good music. You start getting into the later 80s and 90s, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit biased just because it's not my style of music with like the boy bands and things like that. But But I don't think it's really just my opinion. I do think it's reality that there was less variety in music as you got into the late 80s and 90s. It was not as interesting. There were not as many bands out there performing. So my point is, to get to number one in 1982 is quite good. That's hard to do. And this was not, the Human League was not a huge success as a band. Again, I mean, anytime you hit number one, that's going to be pretty big. So most people who know music from the 1980s will know this band. So I'm not saying they weren't popular at all. And in fact, they did have another number one song called Human. But again, but they weren't like, it's not like we're talking about Kiss or the Beatles or some really big band of the time. No. So that's pretty impressive that they managed to get a number one hit in 1982. And that was this song, Don't You Want Me? And it was written by one of their members, Phil Oakley. I mentioned their other members, Martin Ware and Craig Marsh. Those were the two people that founded the band. But Phil Oakley was also a member. And he wrote this song. Again, it got to number one in 1982. And what is it about? It's really about kind of being lost without love. In other words, this person is in love with someone, but they are not in love with him. That's why it's called Don't You Want Me? He's asking the question, don't you want me? Because he wants her. Now, it's a little bit weird because I say he wants her, but she doesn't want him. But it's really sung from the perspective of a woman. But it's a guy singing it. So it's a little bit weird. Like one of the verses starts out with, I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. Waitress is the female form of that word. If it was a man, it would be a waiter. So I was working as a waitress. That's a woman. That's a woman singing. But yet the song is sung by a man. But the very first verse starts with, you were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. So it's kind of sung by both, I guess. It's a little bit of a tricky song as far as understanding who's singing it, what perspective you're getting. But anyway, no matter what, we're talking about someone who is not finding the love that they're looking for. Because they're asking the question, don't you want me? And you'll see as we go through the lyrics in the second part of our program, there are several lines here which indicate that this person, again, it's a little hard to tell whether it's woman, man, whatever, but this other person clearly doesn't feel the same, is not in love with, excuse me, is not in love with the person asking, don't you want me? So clearly this is someone who loves someone else, but they don't love him back or her back, whatever. I think it's him. It's a man singing, but as I said, some of the lines are a little confusing. One line says, I was working as a waitress. Another line says, you were working as a waitress. So it's not clear. But what is clear is that this person loves someone and they don't love him back. Or her. They don't love him back. Okay, so that's kind of what the song's about. It's kind of a sad song, right? It's kind of a sad song. You love someone, they don't love you. Kind of a sad song. All right, so let's get to the song. For those of you joining us on YouTube, as always, we cannot embed the video due to copyright reasons. So we will give you a link in the upper right-hand corner. Please click on that to watch the video, and then after the video is done, you can just click back here for the second part of our program. Everyone else, if you are listening on radio or streaming, we can play the music. We are a radio station, so you should be able to listen just fine. All right, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. All right, so that was Don't You Want Me by the Human League, and it is a song about being with someone who doesn't want to be with you. Actually, it's more about loving someone who doesn't love you back. I shouldn't say being with someone because you're probably not actually with them if they don't want to be with you. But you have feelings for someone and they don't feel the same about you. All right, so let's get to the lyrics. And as I said in the first part of the program, the first line starts out with, "You were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar when I met you. I picked you out. I shook up and turned you around, turned you into someone new." Okay, so a cocktail bar, that's just really just a bar. But it's maybe a nice bar. It's kind of high class. So probably not a lot of people just drinking beer or whatever. They're drinking cocktails, mixed drinks. So it's kind of a high class bar. Okay, so you were working at the bar when I met you. I picked you out, I shook up and turned you around. What does that mean? It basically means that he changed her. And presumably what we're talking about is in a good way. And probably he didn't really change her. You can't really change someone. But, he made her life better. At least he thinks so. Now, maybe she doesn't agree because obviously she doesn't want to be with him. Maybe she doesn't agree. But, at least according to him, he helped her out. Turned you into someone new. So, he made her a better person. Now, 5 years later on, and you've got the world at your feet. Success has been so easy for you. Okay, so when we say you've got the world at your feet, it means that you have everything you want, you can do anything, and that's why it says success has been so easy for you. So, it's been easy. Now, what he's saying at the beginning of the song is basically that he's responsible for that. Now, that kind of seems a little creepy, actually, because probably he's not. You are usually not responsible for someone else's success. They have to do it themselves. But that's kind of what he's saying here. Is like, I turned you into something new, and then he says, now 5 years later, the world's at your feet, success has been so easy for you. So that's kind of what he's saying. But don't forget, it's me who put you where you are now. See, there it is. He's taking credit for it. And I can put you back down, too. Ooh, that's a little bit mean, right? Because he's saying he can take it all away. He gave her everything that she has, and he can take it all away. So, even though this is kind of a sad song, you don't really feel that bad for him. He seems like kind of a mean person. He's taking credit for all of her success, and now he's saying that he can take it all away. I can put you back down, too. Put you back down. It means take away all of her success. Okay, then we get to the chorus. Don't you want me? Don't you want me? I can believe it when I hear that you won't see me. Don't you want me? I don't believe you when you say you don't need me. So apparently she's telling him she doesn't want him, she doesn't need him. And he doesn't even believe her. So again, he's kind of creepy. The person singing the song is kind of creepy. It's much too late to find. You think you've changed your mind. You'd better change it back or we will both be sorry. Again, he's threatening her. You better change it back. In other words, you think you've changed your mind. So in other words, she's changed her mind. She doesn't want to be with him anymore. So apparently at first she did want to be with him. Now she doesn't. So he's saying you've changed your mind. Now you better change it back. When we use the phrase, you'd better do something, that's almost like a threat or a warning. When we say you better do something, it means that I am demanding that you do it. So he is demanding that she change her mind. Obviously, you can't demand that someone changes their mind. You can't change their feelings. So again, this guy's a little creepy. It's kind of a sad song from his perspective because he doesn't have the love that he wants, but he's handling it all wrong. So it's a really weird, kind of interesting song. Okay, so then we continue with the main part of the chorus. That last part was actually called the pre-chorus, but it's basically part of the chorus. And then we get the chorus, which is really just "Don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me?" That's all. It just repeats that. Okay, and then we get the second verse, and there's really only 2 verses. This is a pretty short song. And we start out with, like I said, we kind of have this confusion. The first verse says you were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. Now we have I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. Okay, that much is true. But even then I knew I'd find a much better place, either with or without you. So now if we think of this as being her singing, since it says I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar, if we think of this as the woman singing, you notice that she's saying that she would be in a better place with or without him. So he's taking all the credit for her success, and she's saying, no. I would have succeeded whether you were there or not. So maybe he did help or something. Maybe we don't know. We don't have a whole story here. We don't know what happened. But maybe he did something to help her. But she's saying she would have succeeded anyway. Okay, we continue on. The 5 years we have had have been such good times. I still love you. But now, I think it's time I live my life on my own. I guess it's just what I must do. So she is not being so mean or bitter or angry like he is. She's saying it's been great. She loved the 5 years that they were together. In fact, she still loves him. She still has feelings for him. But she's just decided that she needs to go in another direction. I think it's time I live my life on my own. So she wants to be by herself. She wants to do things her way. I guess it's just what I must do. So she's saying that she has to do this. Like this is what she feels. She has to do this. Okay, and then we get to the pre-chorus again. Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me. Don't you want me? You know I don't believe you when you say you don't need me. So this is the same pre-chorus as before. It's exactly the same. And in fact, that's why I said it's kind of really part of the chorus, but it's called the pre-chorus. But it really is just repeating identically. It continues when you say that you don't need me. It's much too late to find. You think you've changed your mind. You better change it back or we'll both be sorry. Okay, so that's exactly the same thing as we had before. So it's really just part of the chorus. And then we get to the actual chorus where it just says, don't you want me, baby? And that's it. That's the whole song. So all we get is 2 verses. One is him singing. The second is her kind of responding. And again, it's a little bit of a creepy song because you kind of want to feel sad for him. He loves her. He wants her. But he's being really creepy about it. You'd better change it back when he's talking about her mind, her feelings. You'd better change it back or we'll both be sorry. When you say you'll be sorry, when that phrase, I never did explain that phrase. What that phrase means is that something bad is going to happen. You will regret it. So it's really a threat. He's threatening her with something. Now, maybe he doesn't really mean it as a threat. Maybe, I mean, it's not like he's saying he's going to kill her or whatever, who knows what. He may just be saying that he thinks he knows best. And so when she's without him, she's going to be worse off. So maybe that's how she'll be sorry. Maybe that's how she'll regret it, because her life is going to be worse. That might be all he means. But still, it's a weird way to put it. It's really kind of creepy to say you better change it back or we'll both be sorry. So, it's an interesting song. And again, it was very popular. It went to number 1. Very popular song. Even though it's kind of weird. Kind of weird and creepy. You kind of want to feel sorry for the guy. He loves her. She doesn't love him back. She's leaving him. So he's kind of the victim. It's kind of sad for him. But he's really weird and creepy about it. I don't believe you when you say you don't need me. And he's taking credit for all of her success. But don't forget, it's me who put you where you are now. He's taking credit for all of her success. He's saying you'll better change your mind or we'll both be sorry. He's threatening her. Really weird and creepy. So it's kind of interesting that this got to number 1. Because it's really a weird song. It's really a weird song. But it did. This was number 1. I think because of the music, honestly. It's fun. When you go watch the video again. The music is really kind of fun. It's kind of a fun song music-wise. Maybe not the lyrics, maybe not the words, but music-wise, it's a fun song. All right, so that's Don't You Want Me by the Human League. Now, I usually like to point out other songs by bands that you may want to listen to. Honestly, these guys don't have a lot of big hits. As I said in the first part of the program, they weren't that huge of a band. If you're big into music from the 1980s, you've certainly heard of these guys. Like, this song was really big. But generally, they weren't a huge success as a band. So there's not a lot of other big songs by them I can point you to. The ones I came up with are Human, Mirror Man, Fascination, and Tell Me When. So if you like this song, maybe go check out those songs. Again, the name of the band is The Human League. League, L-E-A-G-U-E, The Human League. So go ahead and check out those other songs, Human, Mirror Man, Fascination, and Tell Me When. Go ahead and check out those songs by them. But I would say that Don't You Want Me is probably their most famous song. They did have another hit that was number 1, but I think Don't You Want Me was more popular. I mean, more popular than number 1. You can't be more popular than that. But they were both number 1. So one of them is probably more popular than the other. And I would say that Don't You Want Me is probably their most popular. So the song we did today is probably the Human League's most popular song. All right. So that's it. That's Don't You Want Me by the Human League. All right. So thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Any young people out there who may be listening who are gearing up to go to university soon, I'd ask you to think about our university here. We've got a great little university here, Ratchabacon University of Technology, Peranagon. So think about coming to our university. All right. Please stay with us now and tune back in next week for another great song. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical musings.